Good evening, Chief Meteorologist Marcus Bailey here, and wanted to give a webcast update on what to expect as we start going into the evening hours. It's been a beautiful day, warm temperatures, the humidity not that bad. We've had a ton of sunshine. So now we start to kind of draw our attention to what will happen later on this evening. First, we'll start off with the Storm Prediction Center's outlook. And we've been talking about a lot on social media. We've been talking about a lot on the TV side as well since really the past day or two. Slight risk for most of central Illinois. I will throw the cities on here so you can kind of see where we're standing. Peoria, right on the border kind of that moderate to slight risk. So everything pretty much west of Peoria considered under the moderate risk of severe weather. They actually now have a high risk for severe weather for central and southern Iowa that extends into eastern Nebraska, where there's some pretty nasty storms already going. But most of our viewing area, with the exception of just to the west, under a slight risk for some nasty storms this evening. The tornado threat is very, very low, so I do want to at least mention that for this evening. Just not a lot of ingredients to kind of get any of these supercells or getting some rotation. Now, with that said, and I'll talk more about how this will be one big complex, you can get some spin ups. So it's not completely zero, but it is low. Really, the big concern is going to be the winds. You're looking at, we're in the, as it's freshly updating there. Let me throw the cities back on there real quick. Peoria sits in the 30% probability or chance with seeing damaging thunderstorm wind gusts of up to 55, 57 miles per hour or higher. 20 or within 25 miles of that point if you're in that red area. And then just west of that you see 45% and also a hatched area, so you're talking about 10% or greater probability of wind gusts getting close to maybe 70 miles per hour. Again, that's going to be just west of Peoria. We do think that this line might start to fall apart, not completely fall apart, but start to lose widespread intensity over time as we get deeper on into the evening. Hail threat is relatively low, about a 15%. So we're talking more of a, as far as severe weather parameters go, winds for the most part. But again, even though I said tornado threat is low, the hail threat is low, damaging winds can cause a lot of problems, especially in this type of situation. I'll show you radar here in just a second because you're talking about a much larger area. And if this thing actually kind of progresses how some of the models are advertising, you could see many locations that have some sort of wind damage. Now, the hope is that this starts to kind of fall apart and you'd see more isolated chances. But you do want to at least keep your heads up because you don't want to mess around with 70 mile per hour wind gusts that are coming out of a storm. That's going to cause a lot of problems. So as I mentioned on social media earlier, make sure if you have a weather radio, make sure it's plugged in and also make sure your batteries are charged to back up if you, in the event that you lose power, so you can make sure to continue to get those alerts this evening. All right, that's as far as what the Storm Prediction Center has. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on now. This webcast is being recorded about 5:40 in the evening. That is a current look at radar. Pretty big complex here, and this was very well advertised in the models with numerous tornado warnings in this area here. I will throw on the watch boxes first. And we'll show you where that is. Then the yellow, that is a tornado watch in effect for portions of Iowa, northwestern Missouri, and most of Nebraska. And the warnings, you'll see a whole bunch of them here. Orange are severe thunderstorm warnings. Red are tornado warnings. And the purple that you see there are actually confirmed tornadoes that have been observed. So all of this now moving to the south and east. So we'll be heading our direction as we get later on into the evening. This will continue to kind of gather up some steam, this whole complex here. Let's throw on the model here. And the timing, the confidence isn't extremely high on exact timing, but we still think this is going to be mainly a after midnight event for most of us. Okay, this is valid at 10 o'clock this evening, local time, central time. And you can see most of the activity is still to our west. And as we go through time, oh, you need to go the other way. This would be around midnight. That is when you're seeing here the line starting to approach the Illinois River. So that's when we're thinking best guess. And I mean, give or take a couple of hours. I don't think you're going to be seeing these storms move in over the next couple of hours. You're going to be talking about either very late tonight or into the overnight. So give yourself around midnight and give yourself 1 or 2 hours on either side of that. But again, late night into the overnight when a lot of people are either going to bed or already in bed. And then that will continue to move down to the south and east pretty slowly. You're noticing some pretty intense colors there. A lot of orange, a lot of red. That doesn't necessarily mean severe weather. That's going to mean a heck of a lot of precipitation, though. And I'll talk about that. That's going to be another threat on top of the severe weather potential. This would take us to, let me go back. Let's see. That's 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning right there. And then that's 4. So by the evening drive, the thinking would be, if this model is correct, that the morning drive, when you're heading off to work, the nasty stuff should be out of here. We may still have some showers to deal with, but at least the rough weather for most of us should be gone. And then this may actually start to kind of get going again and then turn pretty nasty in Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky, where in this area they're under the gun for some severe weather for tomorrow. Okay, so that's kind of the timing right now. Here's the estimated rainfall. Pretty considerable here, and let me kind of scoot this over a little bit so you can see the color table to the left. It's got a lot of central Illinois at least getting an inch, and this is just over the next 24 hours, so this would be valid until tomorrow evening, but the bulk of this obviously going to come during the overnight. Some areas getting as high in between 1.5 inches to 2, maybe even as high as 2.5 inches. You can see the bullseye there, just west of Peoria at about 2.5 inches. And again, that's going to come over a short amount of time, so that could lead to some flash flooding. This is a graphic from the National Weather Service on an areas, and we're under the slight risk for excessive rainfall, which would put us in flash flooding guidelines. They do have, now it didn't come from the Lincoln office, which services most of our area, but just to our west, and it does include Henry, and Warren and McDonough counties, flash flood watch in effect for this evening. I think they're waiting kind of just to see how this whole thing is going to progress as it gets a little bit closer to us before they pull a trigger on any watches or warnings. That includes severe thunderstorm watches or flash flood watches or warnings. So we'll just kind of have to see how this thing kind of gets going and evolves as it gets closer to the Mississippi River and crosses into the state. So really the main concerns: damaging straight line winds on the severe weather side of things, and then the flash flooding. And I think the flash flooding is probably going to be, you're going to see probably the heavier rain just west of Peoria also. So really the western half of our viewing area is going to be under the gun for probably the nastiest storms, but it doesn't mean that everybody won't see maybe some pockets of very strong wind gusts or some pockets of torrential downpours and some flooding issues as we head into the evening. So that's what we have for now. We expect this is probably going to change just a little bit. Like I said, we're going to watch what's kind of happening over time here, over just to our west. And hopefully we'll have another update for you coming up later on this evening as we get a little bit closer. We will be all working to keep you updated this evening. Carissa will be in during the overnight hours pretty early. I'll be up monitoring everything from home, checking in with social media as well, so we'll be updating you there. And of course, keeping you updated on the TV side on WMED 31 News. We have Kyle Keel filling in from the Quad Cities. He'll be on this evening, give you some updates around 9 and 10 o'clock this evening. Which will lead us a little bit closer, so we should have a better understanding of everything that's going on. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to pop me a line on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Google+, and be happy to answer those when I can. Otherwise, we'll leave this be for now, and we'll have another update when we get a little bit more information later on this evening. Everybody have a good Tuesday evening, and we'll talk to you soon.